But the ones who are consistently winning and at the top are the ones who follow their diet and their workout and everything to the T. It's that discipline that plays such a huge role.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the SupersetYourLife.com podcast. I am Coach Colt, your host, and this is your weekly dose of entertainment, education, and inspiration to fuel your life inside and beyond the gym. We have Ayana Fuentes on this episode. She has done 9 bikini shows. It's a lot of competitions, and so I learned a ton from this. I'm excited to share this conversation with you, and she is another carnivore success story. So lots that we have in common. Super good friend of Taylor's and mine. Here we go. And real quick, before we get started, if you look down below, you will see 3 icons. The first one is like, the second one is share, and the third one is subscribe. And it actually turns into a bell. So if you could give us a thumbs up, that would be very, very much appreciated. Helps the channel grow, and all of our growth up to this point has been organic. And so we'd like to keep it that way. We really, really appreciate everybody sharing and supporting the channel. So think of a friend, think of someone that you know it's either a competitor or someone that likes to eat meat. I mean, you got to think of someone that would like this episode. So send it their way. Just copy and send the link. It takes like 2 seconds to do it. And then if you hit that subscribe button, it turns into a bell. If you click that bell, then you'll be notified when the next episode comes out. We have a lot of exciting guests that are lined up, and lots of good content is coming your way. So we'll keep it coming if y'all keep helping us share and grow the channel. Thanks so much for the support. And of course, last thing before we get started is no podcast here would be complete without a customer review. This one comes from Patrick from church. We'll call him Patrick from church. He's somebody that he's a real close friend, doesn't have a lot of social media presence or anything, but he's into bodybuilding. And I try not to conduct business at church, but it's like, hey, I'm there on Sundays, he's there on Sundays. And so he's been a loyal customer of creatine glycerol phosphates for quite some time, which I really, really appreciate, bro. But he just tried the apple flavor, says that he likes the apple flavor, and says that fruit punch is his favorite. So for that reason, that was just a sample that we gave him too. So for that reason, on our last shipment that we just made, should be in a couple days. Check our website. Our inventory should be up on that. But creatine glycerol phosphate, we now have fruit punch flavor. And it's not bad. It's really good. I still like blue raspberry the best. But hey, that's the first one that I had. And I've been taking it for 4 years now. Only get off of it if I forget it, and then as soon as I get back home, like from traveling, I can't wait to start taking it again because I get those, I get those last 1 or 2 reps on literally every single exercise. This is something that we back with 100% guarantee. Creatine glycerol phosphate. You're not going to find a whole lot of science on why it's better than creatine monohydrate, but I did make a YouTube video on that, which I will plug in the show notes below. And you can entertain yourself with the science there. But it is a very, very good supplement. Definitely, I would say that it's our flagship supplement. It's about $30. You can find it on our website at supersetyourlife.com. Again, thank you very much, Patrick, for your feedback on that. And with that, we're going to get into the interview with Ayana Fuentes.
I have always loved fitness. It's been a part of my life since I was a teenager, to be honest with you. I remember going to the gym for the first time when I was 16 because my brother always was powerlifting, right? And my dad and my uncles, they all worked out. So I've gravitated to wanting to be there and see for myself. And I took a class in high school, a weightlifting class, and I really fell in love with it after that. And so I became a gym rat. And I liked it because in my earlier childhood, I just ballooned up at 10 or 11. I got so big, just obese is honestly what you would call it. And I think it was hormones. I mean, yes, I loved M&Ms and all that, but I really think that the shift was hormonal too at that time. And I just remember being so frustrated. And I went to my mother and I was like, you know what? I don't like this. I don't feel comfortable, And she was a lifelong diabetic, unfortunately. Um, so she's like, okay, here, this is what they want me to do, even though she wasn't really doing it. And it was just, the food pyramid and eat this, exchange it for this or that. And that's what I did. So I started counting calories at like 10 years old, because at 10, I was what I weigh now as a full grown woman. Wow. So yeah, I was big. I got it to be really big in 5th grade, right? 4th, and then really in 5th. So the summer of 5th, when I ended 5th grade and a little bit into 6th grade, like middle school, I lost 40 pounds. I took it all off just by counting calories, weighing myself every day, measuring food the best I could. I was a quick learner with all that stuff, and I kept it off, but it developed bad habits, and I'll get to that later. But I kept it off through middle school, high school, because I knew if I put on just a little bit of weight, I knew how to get it off. And then college came around. I put on like the freshman 15, but I knocked it right off. I was like, no. But when I got into my 20s, I got married. I was just finishing up college. I went straight to grad school, and we were eating late, going out. And by the end of my 20s, ballooned up to 188 pounds. So during my 20s is the only time that I can remember where I deviated from the gym. And I think it was just because I was so overwhelmed with being married, going to grad school, starting a new career, and it just my habits just left.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? And so I don't know if you've heard of the HCG diet. Oh, gosh.
I haven't.
You haven't?
No.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so I was desperate because in my 20s, I got to know the low carb community, Dr. Atkins and whatever. I kind of dived into it, and it intrigued me, and I was reading about it. And whenever I would do it and comply, I would drop like 20, 25 pounds, but I was never consistent. So I knew I needed accountability. Unfortunately, at that time, I just knew, hey, I can't do it on my own. So I did HCG, and you pay for this program and you check in every week and you get HCG shots, and then you eat like 500 calories a day.
That's crazy.
Yes. And it's just protein, like an apple and protein. That's it. Okay. And yeah, I lost 50 pounds. But bodybuilding saved my life after that, because seriously, after that, I was like, how am I going to keep this off? And that's when I went back to the gym and was consistent. Mm-hmm. And I developed, more of a high protein, moderate fat, low carb way of eating, because that was more of the bodybuilder style. And so I started eating like that. And I reversed diet, not realizing what that was back then. But I compensated by not getting too big after that influx of calories by exercising. And that's when I started competing in my early 30s.
Wow. So you did 8, 9, 10 shows? Yes,
I did 9 shows in 4 years.
So I thought, wow.
Yeah, I did.
Quite a few.
Yeah, it was fun. I loved it. I love competition, and it was a challenge. I think it's one of the main things that taught me discipline too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you were saying on your last interview on, I think her name is Jesselyn on her show, that you aren't naturally a very disciplined, regimented person, and that bodybuilding was something tangible that gave you some structure. Is that pretty accurate?
100,000% accurate. I have shown discipline in certain things in my life, like with school and with work, But with the one thing that I love is being healthy, that was where I struggled. Like, I will always work out. Even when I got up to 188 pounds, like, I would still want to go to the gym. Like, you know what I mean? But the discipline with food was difficult, to say the least. And so that was where, yes, I had lack of discipline in different parts of my life, but that was like the biggest. And I think bodybuilding, because it is so regimented and you have an end date and the end game is on stage, you stick to it. What better accountability? And that taught me discipline with my health and fitness, but it also translated in other parts of my life, I feel, as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You and I are both very big fans of Robert Sykes, the Keto Savage, and
Yes.
actually are both currently going through his book and
Yes.
doing and treating it like gospel and going through everything exactly the way that he teaches it on his ketogenic bodybuilding contest prep. He teaches something called moderation and elimination. There's people that are moderators and people that are eliminators. I'm best as an eliminator, meaning if I eat a donut, that's a very bad sign because I'm probably going to sell the place out. But as long as I forget about it, it's like it doesn't exist. Which one are you?
You know what? We talk about this a lot, me and the group I'm in, where with Danny and Amy in Mighty Networks. Some people would call me a moderator, but after thinking about it and reading more about it, especially Gretchen Rubin stuff, if you're familiar with her, she talks about it a lot. I would have to say I'm an eliminator. Now, the reason why I feel that some people in this space might think I'm a moderator, it's only because I've been doing this for so long, tracking macros, delving into health and fitness, figuring out like, wow, protein and fat really work for me. Because of that, I am allowed for myself, to have a little, say, low carb treat here and there without damage. But that has taken many, many years. And even now I have to be careful. And if it's like too much of it, I have to stop because I will go overboard even on a keto or a low carb treat. So I have to say overall, I'm an eliminator for sure.
I'm with you on that one too. Yeah. It's so popular today to preach everything in moderation, and that's great for some people, but it's certainly not for everybody. And even I'll be the first to say that keto isn't for everybody, and carnivore isn't for everybody. I think everybody should give it a shot because you never know until you try it, and I think it's great for most people. Have you gotten to the page in the book yet where Robert says that it's basic that resistance training with the ketogenic diet is like the closest thing to the fountain of youth?
Yes, I have. I've skipped around. I've cheated. I've read all the way up to the end of phase 3 because I needed like the strong base of like, okay, what am I going to do? But now I need to go back and read phase 4 to the end because I was peeking around. But yes, and I believe that 100%.
Yeah, that is a mandatory read for all of our clients that we have on a ketogenic meal plan, and when they read that page, that's something that I usually get a text message or something or a screenshot and just like, hey, this one really motivated me. I'm like, oh yeah, the whole book. Extreme.
I love it.
So all the shows that you've done, all the bodybuilding shows. Well, first of all, what category was it? Was it bikini? Was it figure?
It was bikini, NPC bikini. And so it was between 2010, 2014. And so, the look back then was different than the look of NPC IFBB bikini now. And so, but still, regardless, because it was not a, how do you say, like a drug tested show, it's not like that at the NPC or IFBB. you have all kinds of competitors, and because I was in my early 30s, I was competing against girls who were in their 20s. So, it was interesting, but yeah, bikini, and I still love bikini to this day. And, because it's a category that, if you don't have natural muscle, like, some people are just more, mesomorphic, but, you can grow into it, or you can stay there and just enhance your body in that category.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you seem to really have the personality for it too. That's something, I mean, that's something to consider, really, because my wife is gonna be doing her first show in a year or two. We're not in any kind of rush or anything for it, but it's something that she's been thinking about for a long time, and I'm excited for it too, because I know how much fun it is, and just what you described too. What it does to what it does to you as a person. Like, you have to be regimented in everything, and you have to cut out all BS. You got to watch your stress levels. You got to, for me, it's brought me closer to God. You have to really dig into your faith and your spiritual life. I mean, all about this. And
yes, because honestly, like, it is almost like, a spiritual experience, because and even if you do it the ketogenic way, or even if you do it if it fits your macros way versus say the standard bodybuilding, like, bro diet, I don't care what method you use, you do not rely on food anymore for pleasure or enjoyment.
right.
It is fuel. And so you just have to go somewhere else and just deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. And getting those workouts in, that's the only thing. Robert Sykes had a live the other day, and I chimed in and asked about cardio, and he likes to add in cardio at the end, or increase it towards, to tap in if you need it. Right. And I'm used to front loading with it. And so kind of doing it backwards has been really difficult, but, mentally for me.
So your prep, that's interesting. So your preps start out with more cardio than less?
I usually, in the times past, have, because, they're like, okay, you have more body fat on you, you are higher calories. So we'll start off with not tons, but something, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, whatever. And it'll gradually become more, but then they'll taper it off before, like, the very, very end. So you don't look haggard and tired and everything. That's what I'm used to. And so his method is a little bit different. So this is also new, but it's like, just going back to bodybuilding, it's just a mental game, because even getting up and doing your cardio or doing your lifts after maybe a stressful day at work, it's like, you just have to do it.
Yeah. Do you like doing cardio? Is it something that you enjoy, or is it like, this is like just something I'm doing to get lean?
You know what? It's a little bit of both. It's a little bit of both. To get lean in the past, I've had to go deep into cardio, like, because I don't have a problem putting on muscle, but getting lean, especially for the NPC stage. I would start around 30, 45 minutes, whatever. And then it would graduate to an hour and a half. Yeah.
Are you an endomorph then?
I think I am. And because some people are like, oh, but you have muscle without her, but you and I know that, like, an endomorph can have some good muscle. It's just that we have a hard time getting the fat off. Yeah. So it's like, we got both.
Yeah. Right? And then it's like, when do you say that you're an endomorph, and then when does it just become an excuse and go, no, you just like to eat a lot? That's I'm a little bit of both.
I'm a little bit of both. And you know what? Here's the thing. I do believe there are hard gainers, right? And there are easy gainers and there's, hard losers, easy. So I think that's just where it comes from. And yeah, I like to eat. And yes, I have to stay away from sugar and processed carbohydrates. That's like my eliminator part of me. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. But that's why I'm very interested in his way of doing things, because I want to do something different.
Mm-hmm. If you ever compete again, you are going to compete again, right?
I want to, but I'm not making any commitments right now because it's been so long and I want to see how this works with me. And then I'll know from there.
Yeah, because you're doing a mock prep right now just to see if it's the direction you want to go. Great. So if you do compete, would you do bikini again? Or with the amount of muscle that you have now, you could probably crush it in figure, right?
You know what? Not on the NPC stage. Well, I could, but I would have to go back into a building phase for at least a year for figure on the NPC stage. Bikini, I would be okay. I would just have to continue to retain the muscle and even build even more in the lower body, especially. But with the bikini, it would be like a leanness gain for me, while retaining that muscle. Wellness is interesting too, but again, with that, I would have to take time off, just like with figure. I'd have to take time off and really build the lower part of me, because I have the X frame for bikini and figure. So it would just take longer to get the muscle for figure, and for wellness, it would take longer to build the lower body for wellness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see.
What is the most of all the women's categories, the most, like, if you could have any wish, any genetics in the world, then what would change? Would you still prefer bikini? Would you like, you know what, heck with it, I'd go into bodybuilding? I don't know, I'm just curious.
That is a really good question. And honestly, and you know what, just so you know, my reference that I'm thinking of is IFBB Pro, right? Not NPC. So with the IFBB Pro, and I'm not familiar enough with the natural federations, although I am very interested in that. But what I know is IFBB. And with those physiques, the ideal for me is bikini. Cool. It is. I have mad respect for the wellness, and I follow a lot of them and figure, but personally, the bikini. Yeah. And I don't even know if I was doing some posing for fun the other day with a bikini athlete, and she's like, yeah, you have the X frame for bikini and figure for sure. So it would just depend on it. Do you want to grow or do you want to just get lean?
Right. Yeah. Cause see, Taylor's just the opposite. She's like, you're going to have me stand in high heels and like do the bikini poses and stuff like I'm on a magazine cover or something. She's like, no, I'm an athlete. I'm flexing biceps. I'm showing my quads up. It all just comes down to who you are and what you want. But
so is she maybe thinking women's physique?
We don't know about physique or bodybuilding. We got to see what happens when she gets shredded. Her leg genetics are so good to where I'm like, the muscle that you have right now, babe, you being shredded, IFBB Pro. But I'm also her husband, so maybe there's a little bit
of see, and that's the thing. It's like you don't really know, and that's why I'm saying this is a mock prep, because you don't really know until you're lean to really take a good look and see, okay, where do you fit? What do you want to do with that? So that would be so interesting to see what she chooses.
Yeah. And then I'm a bodybuilder too. Same thing. It's just men's physique. It's not my personality. I always do it because it's like you're shredded. So it's kind of like a track meet is what I say. It's like, I usually try to encourage people to do 2 or 3 categories if you want, and if you can, if you like it, because it's fun being on stage. And instead of being backstage, it's like if you go to a track meet and you're running the mile, run the 200 as long as you're there.
Oh yeah, that's a good. And then also, I'm not as familiar with natural federations, and so
There's a lot of them.
I know, yeah, and it's like I know that they're they have the bikini, the wellness, the figure, and then all the men and stuff like that. But of course, it's tested. So it's much different. See, because when I'm looking at these IFBB pros in my brain, wellness, bikini, and figure, the wellness and figure, they're definitely doing something. But the bikini, it's kind of a mixed bag. Whether they did before and not now because they don't need to, because they've already got the muscle capacity, or they are natural. So with the bikini, it's kind of a combination at that level. So in natural, it's a different story, and that's interesting. So,
yeah. That's kind of the nice thing about women's bodybuilding is, I mean, certainly drugs are a huge aspect of the sport, like as if they don't exist in other sports.
Yeah, I know.
But that seems to be the nice thing about women's bodybuilding, is that it's not as prevalent as you see with the males. It's like, okay, this guy is clearly on a lot of drugs, and this guy is, you know, probably natural, who knows. And with women, it doesn't seem to be quite as much of as a thing.
Yeah, I know. And I look at things in rose-colored glasses, but I've also have been told, I mean, I can't, obviously not natural federations, but IFBB, it's a different story, even with women. So, but you know what though, guess what? The amount of discipline and hard work you have to be to get to that level does not change, regardless.
No. You look at us at the natural athletes, and then you look at the ones that are on PEDs, and you know, more power to them. But it's almost like you got to give them almost a little bit more credit, because like they're training harder than we are, because they can just go a little bit further than someone that's not taking.
Right. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So it was fun. Competing was taught me a lot, and then I stopped around 35 or 6, and I went back to college. I went back to get my master's, and so that was my focus, you know, and I kept the lifestyle going because it was that important to me. But I'm telling you, around 2018, 2019, just like what happened in my 20s, in those years, my habits of what I know is best, of working out and being mindful of my food and stuff like that, deviated, because I got so caught up in other aspects of my life. And unfortunately, it's like, I can't believe I let this happen. It's so frustrating when I think about it. But I went all the way back up to like 185. But I lost it during COVID. Because I was like, okay, I know for me that this is going to be my lifestyle, no matter what else is going on in my life. This has to be my home base, is my going to the gym, focusing on what I know is best for me. And of course my faith, but those things are like center.
You and Jesselyn were talking about some politics as far as judging goes in the NPC and in bodybuilding, and that was extremely insightful. So anybody that's jumping in on this and hearing Ayana talk for the first time, you should definitely go check that out. We will link that in the show notes too. My take on politics in bodybuilding has been that they're definitely there, but I think they can get really blown out of proportion and exaggerated to the point to where people say like, oh, the judges had the winners picked before they even stepped on stage. But then it's like, no, you just needed to lose another 5 pounds, and just be honest with yourself. So
yeah. And you know what? I have to say the same thing. Like, again, I can only speak on NPC, IFBB. You know, I'm not familiar with the others, but I just know that in my experience, I did not see a lot of the politics. Now, what I was mentioning before, and what I'll say again, is that, okay, if you're competing a lot and the judges see you on a regular basis and they get to know you, they see a progression. You're like, oh, there she is again. Wow, look at her. She's improved. It's human nature to be drawn to a familiar face. And, but these judges are not like, oh, yeah. I mean, it happens so fast. Yeah, that girl, yeah, she's on this team. Like, they're not thinking that. They don't have time to do that. Yeah. They are like looking at your physique, your presentation, and it's like, okay, next, right? At least in that federation. And so, I just think human nature is involved, right? Human behavior, yeah. So that part is there. But no, I would have to say overall, no, I don't see a lot of politicking. And as well as I know that they drop the highest and lowest score with the NPC. That I do know, to alleviate any of that as well. I've heard that on many podcasts before as well. And, just from my experience, my last year that I competed, I think I brought my best package, the last 2 shows I did. The first show in that year, it was the first call out, right? And I was in the top 6, right? And I got 6th place. And the second show I did a couple months later, I won my class, and I got 3rd in masters. So now, but going back to the show before that, where I got 6th, I was in, I think, a better call out. I was next to a couple of girls who later became pro, and the 2 other girls that I was like, wow, I think I could have beat them. After looking at everything, I honestly thought it was the presentation. If I was better at opposing, I think I could have gotten in that top 5 placing instead. I think my posing was a little bit off, because with bikini and men's physique, well, with a lot of the different categories, posing, the way you present yourself and your body is very important.
Everything. Absolutely. Yeah. 100% agree. Yeah. There's a lot of emotions that go on in your head when you're on stage and they're calling out the places, and you don't want to hear your number too soon, and you hear it and you're like, okay, first thing you're thinking is, why did that guy beat me? And then when you go back and look, that you got to be honest with yourself, and you got to go, okay, was this person a better athlete? And you know what? I'm looking back at all my shows. I mean, sometimes it was a toss up, and I'm with you, Ayana. I've heard of politics and everybody talks about it. Personally, I've never experienced it. Whenever somebody else has beaten me, I can always look at him and go, you know what? Okay, that guy's been lifting for 10 years longer than me, and he's got more muscle. And maybe I'm a better poser, but he flat out has more muscle. It doesn't, like, you can't out pose a better athlete. What right? Say posing won't. It can't win you a show, but it can certainly make you lose a show.
Right? Exactly. That's so true, because conditioning is like so important, but posing, oh my goodness, it can make or break you, man. The pose. So when I've gotten, in the shows that I've done, there were a couple of times where I was second call out, and, I was like, wow, but I knew it. But there was no arguing. I was like, yeah, I should not have done this show. I don't know why I did it. Like, I knew it wasn't a surprise. I was like, yeah.
So when you're on a contest prep, Ayana, what's your biggest motivating factor? Is it, I want a first place trophy, or I want to win, or do you even care what place you're getting? And are you just like, you know what, I need to be better than the physique that I brought to the stage last time?
Okay, so the first time I ever competed, I didn't have any expectations. I was just like, let's do this. I got 3rd. Yeah, and I got 3rd place. I was happy. But after that, it was about beating my last package or coming in better placing than last time, or at least just as good. So who doesn't want to win first place? Like, yeah, of course I want to go win. I train to win. I train to get first place. But out of all the times that I competed, I got first place once. I was always second and third, right? Most of the time I was not coached by anyone, though, to be honest with you. I was only coached by someone in my last couple of shows. And so, but yeah, I always want to beat my last package. And if I were to do it again, that would be the goal, is to, let's see if what I can bring in 9 years later than what I did last time. Yeah, you train to win, but you show up and you just want to do the best you can and beat the last package you brought.
That sounds like a very healthy outlook, because then if places don't go the way that you want, if you didn't place the way that you wanted to or thought you should for whatever reason, that's not what your heart was really set on in the first place.
Yeah, because I really love the whole, and I do this even like, not competing now, I do little challenges, with myself or with friends or whatever, because I just like the competitive edge, and I love setting out a goal and seeing it through, and being able to look back and say, okay, I did that. Like with 75 hard, I did 75 hard during COVID also. And that's equivalent to competing. Like, it's intense.
Was it hard for you to give up alcohol?
You know what? It's so funny. Okay. At first I was like, I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't not drink. You know what I mean? Yeah. But honestly, I did. And I have not really been a drinker since. Isn't that funny? I mean, the main reason I don't drink right now is because it really messes up my gut. Like, I just started having bad reactions to liquor. So I just cut it out. But 75 hard really just kind of pushed it away for me. I was like, I don't really need it.
On this ketogenic mock contest prep, I'm sure you're not consuming any alcohol in your diet regularly. No.
I really just don't drink anymore, to be honest, because of how it affects my gut. So yeah, I don't. And when I did compete, like legit, I never cheated on my diet. That was, I just never did. Now, my off season was not always good. And if I have more knowledge now on what an off season should look like, but back then I didn't really know. And my off seasons were like, but I was on.
Yeah. I hate that. I hate the word off season, and I hate the word dirty bull. Those are dirty words, and we should just do away with them.
And you know what? And that is the right mindset, because it's not off. You're not off. Why call it an off season? No, I agree with you. Yeah.
We're bodybuilders. It's like, are we going to compete again? Well, I am. You probably are, and it's a lifestyle.
It is.
There's no escape from it. It's not like hockey. Okay, season's over, and then literally do whatever you want until the next season starts. Like, no, this is your everything, every meal. It doesn't matter how many years out you are for your next show. I mean, why would you stop all the healthy habits that you have that got you to where you were right now?
Exactly. And I think that honestly, that's why I'm so intrigued with doing a keto style prep, because because back then I didn't know as much as I know now about nutrition. I was beginning to learn. And so when I was off, I had the wrong mentality, and I would just want to just eat everything I could, so that when I went back on, I wouldn't miss anything. But it was so hard to get back on after doing that. So I think that this way of eating and doing a prep is just going to be so much healthier.
Yeah. There's there's a lot of rules around it, but it's very, very comforting. I this is okay to let you in on a little secret, I guess. This is you're one of the first people to know Old Taylor, obviously, but God's put it on my heart to memorize all of Psalm 119. Yeah, it's the entire. It's the longest psalm. It's the longest chapter in the entire Bible, and it's all about rules and statutes and testimonies. There's 7 different words for the word law, basically. And the more and more I study it and dive into it, the more in love I really become with God's word and with rules and with statutes. And I'm like, it's comforting. It really is. And whereas, and we having just moved into our new house where everybody's got to learn the new rules. The dog's got to learn the new rules. James has to learn the new rules. Everly has to learn the new rules. So like everything is rules right now. And it's just how we get this chaos to have some structure to it. Having a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old and a puppy is very chaotic. So
yes.
so
my goodness.
We need rules. And Psalm 119 is one where, man, every single verse of that chapter is it brings peace. It really does.
You know what? I'm trying to read the Bible front to back because it's like I usually skip around. But now you're making me want to just read that for right now because you're really trying to, that is so good. So you're trying to memorize all 176.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah, there's a lot of verses. It'll probably take at least a year, if not 2 or 3 years. It's a life goal. This is not going to happen overnight.
Yes, no, that is impressive because sometimes, like if I'm in Genesis, Exodus, sometimes some books are hard to get through, versus others. I'll like jump to Matthew or the Gospels, or I'll jump to something in Psalms. Just like, let me just take a break and I'll go read something over here. Okay, yeah, now I'll go back to where I left off. So that's interesting. That is interesting. Wow, I like that concept that you have there. That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, because it is.
So when you study, are you someone that takes like a real deep dive into it and likes to fully understand it before moving on to the next book, or do you read it more like a book?
You know what? Okay, so because yes and no. So for instance, like I was like, let me start in Genesis to the end, right? Because I just wanted to read it in order. But my mom recently passed away. So I was distracted with caretaking her and everything. And, but she's, at peace now. But, while that was going on, I would just go in and read a little bit here and there and then put it away. But now I'll read a chapter. And if I'm not really grasping it or getting it, I will do that nosedive and I will be like, okay, wait, what does this scripture mean? What is it really trying to tell me? And and I'll do that. That's why I'm still not out of Genesis, even though I'm like, even though I've read the other books, but it's just, I'm trying to go all the way through. And so, I will do that. I will go deep into it. Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Do you ever stop and go, okay, do I keep reading and go to the next book, or do I try to see what the next layer and the next meaning underneath this passage is? Because that never really ends.
You know what? That never ends. And that is why, my dad and my brother, oh my goodness. I asked my dad the other day, I was like, Dad, how many times have you read the Bible? And he's like, oh, honey, I don't know. Like, but he told me that he's like, but I get something different every single time.
Yeah.
So with that, I can see that. Like, I'm like, you know what? Okay, I understand. Like Joseph, like the story of Joseph when his brothers, that's just like, every time I read that, I'm just like, oh my goodness, like the forgiveness and love you have to have that he had. Wow. Right.
Mhm.
And, I went into that a little deep, but now I'm moving on because, I'm sure that when I come back through it again, I'll pick out something else that resonates with me. I don't
Mhm.
know. Yeah.
Yeah. Because
So,
let's start the story with Joseph. It's like, okay, we got the story. It makes sense. It's not rocket science. Let's move on to the next book. Oh, wait. There's like 50 different ways that models what Christ did. Okay.
mhm.
So should my time be discovering that more? I mean, that'll be rewarding. That'll be a life-changing experience. Or should I just go into Exodus? I mean, that's a life-changing book too.
I know, because right, the parallels, right? I know. See, so that's why that's why it's just like, all right, what am I gonna do? And so I let myself, be free with that. You know what I mean? I do.
Sure.
I definitely have to be regimented with certain parts of my life, like with my workouts and whatever, because I have goals and timelines. But
Mhm.
with stuff like that, because it is a personal study, I'm not as rigid. I'm like, you know what? I think I need to understand this for me
Mhm.
and benefit me. Or no, you know what? That's good. I can move on. You know.
Absolutely. My hands down, my absolute favorite part of your interview on the on the one that we're plugging in the show notes was how you were describing your devotional life. Is that something that you would care to share on this show too?
Yeah, definitely. Because in the morning is a quiet time, and especially when I start work again in a couple weeks, I'll have the 4 a.m. wake up calls again. So I wake up at 4 a.m. and that's before my husband wakes up. So it's perfect timing because that is when I come in, I get my coffee, and I sit down, and I'll just read a short daily text. Like, you know what I mean? Just like maybe even just one verse or
Mhm.
one chapter. Usually I can get a chapter in. Um, there's no real deep dives that early in the morning before I have to go to work or go to the gym and then go to the work. But I will read like my daily text and then, meditate on it, pray about it, and really kind of think like, okay, how can I show this today? How can this apply to me? What am I getting out of it? So in the morning, it's like shorter, you know
Mhm.
what I mean? Because of time. But it is a time that I can pray, read a short text, meditate on it, and then I can move on with my day. And it's like kind of just sets the precedence for the day for me. And it's good. When I forget it, I'm like, which I really rarely don't anymore. But it just sets the day off perfectly. I love doing that. So
Awesome. So you don't take a deep dive in the morning. Is there another
no.
time, like during the day, like at night or something, where you do?
You know what? Usually, well, in the summer, I'll do a deep dive in the morning. When I get back to work, though, it's usually there's like a couple of nights during the week where I'll designate to like go a little deeper, take some time and go a little deeper.
Yeah.
So realistically, it'll be like, just a couple of nights during the week where I'll take that time before I go to bed and do it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is most of your study alone, or is it with someone from church or your husband or?
You know what? Right now in the summertime, because we are together more, we'll talk about it together. And he is so knowledgeable, like, he knows his stuff. And so in the evenings, we'll definitely read something together, and we'll have discussions, and he'll bring things out, my husband, that I'm like, whoa, I didn't think about it like that. Or I'll ask him something and he'll help me
Sounds like a man I would
understand.
love to smoke a cigar with and talk to.
Right. Yes. Right.
Yeah.
And so yes. So, and then, yes, we do have Bible study once a week during the week, like at night,
Mhm.
with the congregation, and then Sunday. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's nice. It's nice. It's definitely part of our life. So, and it's like in this world, you need it. At least I do.
You do, yeah, and it's it's becoming increasingly popular, which I believe is kind of sad, to study the Bible on your own and to take a deep dive, but to neglect the congregational aspect of it, which is truly a gift. I mean, just like sports, it's like, okay, great. Like you can, you can do a show and you can win, but it's like, it's easy to become very introverted and very closed off to the entire world in bodybuilding.
Exactly. I agree with you so much. And it's not forsaking the gathering of one another. Yeah.
Yes.
And it's so important because during COVID, for a while we did the Zoom thing, the Zoom congregation thing, and that was nice. But it's so nice to meet in person, again. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, and to have each other's back like teammates, it's like we're all going through stuff in this world, and to be able to pray together and to be able to call each other and to have that community as brothers and sisters is something that I've been guilty of taking for granted lately, and excuse me, not lately. Lately, I've come a long way with it, and I've really just, Taylor and I both have been like, wow, our church is our family. It really is. So.
Yeah, and it is true. It can, because you can get so caught up in your everyday life, this and kids and all this. So yeah, it is easy to do that, but it's when you go back and you're like, wow, what was I thinking? You know what I mean? You really know what you were missing.
Absolutely.
So for sure. So that's definitely a big part of my life. I would have to say, faith, family, and fitness is,
yep.
Faith, family, fitness, friends too.
I love it.
Yeah.
Cool. There's one more topic I wanted to touch on, which was on running. I understand that that's something that you enjoy. That's something that you do quite a bit of, but it's not really something that is scientifically speaking a optimal type of cardio for bodybuilding by any means. So I'm kind of like you. I enjoy running. I really, really do. And so I, limit it to a mile a day, because it's like any more than that, I get worried about the catabolic and the cortisol and everything. And so I don't know. I'm just curious how you work that into your lifestyle. How do you do both?
Okay, so here's the thing, and this might be deceiving with my page, right? I do a lot of 5Ks and 10Ks. I have done a couple of half marathons back in the day, right? Before I did the 2 half marathons, before I started bodybuilding, right? Like officially competing. I was always in the gym, but you know what I mean? For me, it's a challenge. Okay. So which I love the idea of running a mile a day, because that's what Robert Sykes does. And I'm like, ooh, that intrigues me. But anyways, I don't run every day. In fact, I don't do a lot of cardio right now. The only reason why earlier in talking to you, I was like I was thinking like, oh my goodness, I want to get a front load with cardio, is because that's what I normally do with prep. Not because I love it, but because that's like a habit of how I do prep, right?
Right.
So yeah, I don't do a lot of cardio, but at the same time, I like it because it challenges me, because it's hard. Bodybuilding, weightlifting is easy for me. Of course, I make it hard because I progressive overload and I challenge myself, but I don't know, it just comes naturally for me. Running does not come naturally for me. I have to train, and it's very uncomfortable to do that, but I do it because it's hard. I like to do hard things to challenge myself. So that's why you'll see on my page, like, oh, I just finished a 10K, or, oh, I just did a 5K or whatever. Because it challenges me. That's why. So, I did one in April. I did a 10K in April. Which is 6.2 miles. And that was my best time ever. And I didn't even train for it. It was like a little over an hour, just like an hour and 2 minutes or something was my best time. And so that's like 10-minute mile pace, I think. But I didn't train. So I'm thinking, if I trained for an actual 5K or 10K, my time could be really, really good. But yeah, so
that's awesome.
I hope that answers your question.
I like what you said about how you like to do hard things. I'm the same way too. And so what I've noticed about running is so I train 6 days a week, and then Sundays are always rest days. Mm-hmm. First thing that we do in the morning is on every rest day is Zion, our dog, and James and should start taking Everly on runs. They haven't really been. It's kind of been James's and my thing. But we'll just go, like we don't even track. We don't keep we don't keep track of time. Might be 5 miles, might be 6 or 7. I mean, I don't know, but it is hard. And you hit that runner's high at some point. You're like halfway through or 3/4 of the way through. It's like it sucks. And then all of a sudden it's like, bam, I feel like I could go forever. And then then you go to do your workout on Monday and Tuesday. And then all of a sudden it's almost like your cardiovascular shape and your discipline is so your capacity to be able to handle that workout is grown so much by doing that long run that it's a rest day. You have a day off of the weights, but you're still working hard. And then when you go to do cardio again, it's like 20 minutes in the stair mill, please, piece of cake,
Exactly. And so that's why, like, I'm trying not to do a lot of cardio in my prep right now, because like I said, it's just habit for me just to do that. But I do like the idea of doing like a mile a day. I do like that idea.
Yeah, it's a thought. Yeah, for me, it's a meditational kind of devotional time. It's always me, it's always me, James, Everly, and Zion every single morning. So it gives Taylor a break from everybody before she goes to the gym with James in the morning. But it's like it's an empowering feeling. I'm always listening to an expositional teaching of whatever my inductive Bible study was the night before. So then that's kind of like, I don't think about how I'm going to apply it or anything at nighttime. It's just, let's just absorb what this text says and leave it at that. Yeah. I also smoke weed like an hour before that. And so like,
you're like really relaxed.
I just ain't going to happen. Yeah. It's just kind of how I unwind. Never during the day.
Yeah. That's awesome. No, that is awesome. I like that. It's just like, it's unwinding and you're on the West Coast too, right? So right now, it's that's when it's like not as hot. So that's good.
Right.
It's like blazing right now in Vegas.
So then in the morning, I'm listening to what I studied the night before, and I'm amped and ready to go for the day, kind of thinking through what the day is going to look like. Got all the kids and everybody, and listening to the teaching on it throughout the run. And then Everly and I have our devotional time right after that, and pray and meditate, and the more application side of it, kind of like what you were describing. So that's
I love that. And I love it. I love how it's like you marrying that with bodybuilding, you know what I mean? And that lifestyle. Because to me, there's a lot of similarities with applying that discipline and everything. So that's really cool. Yeah. And like I said, like, because of that second time in my adult life where I put that weight on, I was like, okay, there's just certain things that will always have to take first place with me, my faith and my fitness, honestly. Those two things can't waver, because when one of them does, everything just falls apart.
And you got to make it a priority too, because if it has to be as important as any other meeting. It's like, okay, we have to go to work. We have to go to the bathroom. We have to eat. We have like all these things that you have to do every day. And so faith is super easy to throw on the back burner. And you're right, it has to be a habit. Absolutely. And that's that's why we like bodybuilding. And that's why we call the podcast Superset Your Life, because bodybuilding is it just gives your whole life structure. You can build everything. It does. I don't know anything that teaches it tangibly, practically speaking, better than the sport that you and I are talking about.
Yeah, I don't either. Like, honestly, I feel that everybody, like, if I had my way in life, I would want at least everybody to do a competition at least once in their life. I agree.
Yeah,
like, just once.
100% agree. Yeah.
You know, because you can learn.
And you're one of the few people that I've heard say that too, Pilar, Ayana, is that really? Yeah, you know, because everybody will say, a lot of coaches will say competing's not for everybody. Competing's not for everybody. And I don't agree with that. I really don't, because can everybody be Mr. Olympia? No, you have to have very, very good genetics to be able to do that. And I mean, I don't like to talk about genetics because it's out of our control, right? We should be focusing our time and energy on things that are within our control. Yeah. But let's just have a reality check. Okay, there's people that have great genetics. There's people that have genetics to where, okay, you can look shredded, you could look amazing, you could be in the best shape of your life, you could look absolutely phenomenal, you could be peeled, you can get glute striations, you can get abs, glute striations are kind of gross. That's not the best. but anybody can do a competition and do very, very well with it. I am absolutely convinced. I've seen all shapes and sizes, before and after pictures that are just mind-blowing and life-changing. They really, really are. Yes. But so to say that somebody could be competitive, that's a different conversation. But I'm with you, Ayana. I think that everybody could do it, and I think that and I think that everybody would benefit from doing it. I really
because it's like, it's tangible. And I think as humans, we need that just because of how we're wired. You know what I mean? That's why spirituality is important, but it's like, you need that tangible part as well. And so with bodybuilding, or hey, if you're, I mean, I have friends who do CrossFit, and, you know, and they do the CrossFit competitions, you know, so but with bodybuilding, it's so structured because you truly have to do everything to the T, and you're following a diet. That's the hardest part. That's what scares people away, as well as building a physique. So it's like all coming in all directions, the mental, the physical, you know what I mean? Emotional, it's tapping into everything, you know, to do it successfully.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. Nothing escapes it. And there's just no workaround. When you're on stage, you can see who was on their diet and who wasn't. And if you weren't, it doesn't matter how many drugs you take. It doesn't, nothing matters. There is no escaping the hard work that is going to go into it. Like, well, that guy's on a lot of drugs. Okay. Well, you know, good for him. You don't have to. But he doesn't look that way because of that. He looks that way because he mastered his diet. He mastered his training. That's why he got first place.
Exactly. And I think we talked about Don Long, IFBB pro Don Long, a little while ago. When I did have a coach, it was his wife, Sarah, and, you know, but they did a team coaching business at that time. And that's one of the things that he said. He's like, you know, look, you know, we all, and he's talking about the top IFBB pros, you know, because he was being interviewed, and you know, so he's referencing them, and he goes, look, we're all here, we all have great genetics, but the ones who are consistently winning and at the top are the ones who follow their diet and their workout and everything to the T. It's that discipline that plays such a huge role.
Yeah. And then you do a show, and then it's like, all right, what's the next challenge after this? might be a business challenge, might be a marriage struggle, might be a parenting issue. It might be, whatever it is. It's like, you know what? I got second place at a bodybuilding show and I almost became a pro. Like, okay, let's put things into perspective. It does something to you. You're a different person after you do it.
Yeah. And I do, because I do agree, because you can parlay that into other parts of your life and apply the same principles to other parts of your life. And that's the key point right there. And I think that's why everybody should do it and then take it into other aspects of their life.
Yeah. Cool.
Totally.
Well, I think that rant is a wonderful way to end this conversation, because that was so good that would be tough to top. So
yes, I agree. Yay.
Yes. This has been a fun conversation. We have so much in common.
Yes.
We really need to do this again. Where can people go to find out more about you, Ayana?
Yes, I'm at Keto Fit Vegas. And on Instagram, I'm a Keto Fit Vegas. And so you're going to find me there most of the time. That's where I post every day. And also I am on Mighty Networks, and I'm part of a group called Carnivore's Angel, with, Danny Conway, and Amy. She's the Carnivore's Angel. And it's a group where people who are meat-based, keto, carnivore, ketovore, come and share their stories and seek weight loss help, or just feeling better. It's a lot of times not even about weight loss. And I'm a moderator in the group. And so we help each other out, and we have fun topics. We meet every Monday and Thursday, and it's in the Mighty Networks, Carnivore's Angel. So
wonderful. That's awesome. You're a moderator. I thought earlier we were talking about how we are both eliminators. No.
Oh yeah, right.
Sorry, dad joke. You got to get used to that.
Hey, that's okay.
And y'all have an Instagram account for that, right?
You know what? The cool thing about it is Mighty Networks, it's off social media. So if you're a person who is not on social media, it's an app that you can download called Mighty Networks. And you just type in Carnivore's Angel, and that's where you can find us.
Okay.
So, yeah. So that's a cool thing, because there's some people on there who are not on Instagram or Facebook. So
yeah. Gotcha.
Yes.
All right, we'll plug that in the show notes as well.
Yay! Yep.
Other than that, just want to say thank you so much for your time. One of the things that one of the many things that I really truly respect about you, I mean this from the bottom of my heart, is you're such a learner. I mean, you're so much more experienced and knowledgeable than me, and you're. And you're like asking, like, hey, what's that book that you're reading? Oh, I'm gonna go grab that book and read it too. Oh, hey, what page are you on? And it's just like cool. Like I love talking to people like you, Ayana. I really, really do. And so the fact that you took time out of your day to be able to share with our listeners, it's humbling, and it's been great to have this conversation face to face. Virtually face to face.
Yes.
After talking on Instagram for what years we've known each other.
I know, right? It's gone by so fast. And Danny Conway is the one who linked us up. She's like, hey, follow this guy. Right. I'm like, okay, I'll follow him, and I'm glad I did.
Yeah. The keto carnivore community is like, it's like everybody has each other's back, and you're in the community for like a couple months. If you're an athlete, or if you're a coach, or just like, if you're not an athlete and you're just somebody that likes the carnivore diet, or or you have an eating disorder, and so you kind of stumble across it because of how helpful and therapeutic it can be for something like that. And then it's like, everybody just seems to have each other's back. It's for lack of a better term, almost like a little cult community, but it's tight though. And people care about the truth, about science and nutrition,
Yeah. And that's what drew me to it. Even in my 20s, even though I was not 100%, and I was like dipping my, toes in it. And that's why it's always been there with me, and why I came full circle back to it, because it's the science I love, and just, eating disorders, people who have that come here as well, because it really satiates you, the protein and fat, so you're not craving all of that.
Yeah. You hear, you listen to enough testimonies on the carnivore diet, and a lot of these people have tried a vegetarian diet, have tried a plant-based diet, and they survived. And you never really hear about somebody that has been on an all meat-based diet, and then they go to a plant-based diet, and they're like, oh, yep, this is where it's at.
Yeah, right. You don't hear that.
It never happens.
Never. That's so true. Oh my goodness, that's so true.
Funny I've noticed over the years. I'm like,
Yes. So true. Wow.
Well, cool. Thanks again for your time, Ayana. This has been truly a pleasure. I've learned a lot. I'm sure everybody else is. I can't wait to get into editing it tomorrow and share it. So
yes, no, thank you so much. This has been a pleasure of mine too. I'm humbled that you asked me. So thank you.
Well, you're a sweetheart. So all right. Until next time, we'll keep encouraging each other and pushing each other, and let's hold each other accountable and finish out this my 8 weeks out contest prep and your mock contest prep, and let's finish strong.
Yes, we will, and I'll keep you updated for sure.
All right, thanks a lot.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, podcast listeners, for joining us in this entire recording, and just wanted to say, if you found value in it, if you found it helpful or entertaining, that you would share it with a friend. That's all we're asking. We have a new episode every Saturday morning, or at least we try to. Sometimes we miss a week. Usually the next week we can catch up on it and get 2 of them out for you. But just wanted to say thank you so much. From our heart to yours, God bless you. Till the next one, bye-bye. Let's keep eating meat.